Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Frazier, and I'm a Senior Marketing Manager here at Entelo. I'm very excited to be joined today by Entelo CEO, Jon Bischke, and President Danielle Weinblatt to talk about ConveyIQ by Entelo. In today's world, we know that safety is everyone's top concern, and that companies around the globe have been taking steps to reduce the risk to their employees and to their candidates as well, while not disrupting productivity through digital transformation, and how certain recruitment functions can be just as successful and even more efficient virtually. Last week, the Talent Board deployed a survey and shared that 62% will encourage employees to work from home who can, and 26% are considering it, while 22% said it will disrupt and impact in-person interviews, with 37% saying they'll schedule more virtual interviews. And we know these stats are changing every day. So Jon, why are we talking about this today?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I think obviously it's a very timely topic for everybody right now. I think what you've seen across the landscape is companies starting to move either partially or wholesale to doing, what I'm referring to effectively as remote recruiting, where they're conducting interviews over video, they're using other digital tools, including assessments, and they're really rethinking what it means to hire people into their organizations. So I appreciate having some time today to talk through what we're seeing, what we're hearing as we talk to other heads of global talent, and ultimately to what we feel we can do at Entelo to help as people make this transition.
With the climate as it stands, and as it's changing daily, how do you think it will affect hiring overall?
Well, I think it's too early to tell. I mean, certainly you have industries that are being impacted tremendously, travel and hospitality, no doubt retail, other places will have big impact based on what's happening right now. I think overall, everyone that I'm talking to is taking a bit of a wait and see approach to say, does this really change the landscape permanently? Or do we have a couple months of disruption, then we kind of go back to business as usual? So I think when it comes to overall hiring, I'm not sure we know yet, but I do think there certainly are industries that will take a lot longer to recover.
Absolutely. And as we look at our current workforce here at Entelo, we have multiple offices. We have remote workers around the US and offices across different countries. So we're kind of used to using technology like digital interviews to help engage our employees and work cross-functionally. But now that we've implemented a company-wide work from home policy, can you share some of the ways that you're ensuring Entelo operates at the status quo under these different working conditions?
Yeah, well, I think that a big part of it is making sure that you're operating using proper best practices when you think about working from home and working in a distributed fashion. So on the Entelo side, one of the things that we're really encouraging people to do is leverage high bandwidth communication channels whenever they can. And so if you have an opportunity to say hop on a video chat with somebody, that's probably better than sending them an email. If you can go live with them over the phone, that might be better than sending a Slack message. Email, Slack, other tools are fantastic for different things. But if a company goes from an environment where you're seeing everybody face to face every single day, and you're having water cooler conversation, and you're being able to look each other in the eyes, to overnight a company just simply sending emails and Slack messages back and forth, that probably isn't going to be the healthiest shift. And so I think what people really have to do is train themselves to say, I'm going to go after that highest bandwidth communication channel first. And then if that doesn't work for whatever reason, and very often it won't, then I'm going to default to lower bandwidth or kind of lower engagement communication channels. So that's certainly one of the things that we talked with the team about. Another thing that's really important right now is just simply to over communicate. And so very easy when you move to a distributed workforce for things to get lost. And when you're in an office every single day and you're interacting with people in very casual, very informal ways, certain things get picked up on that get lost in a virtual or distributed setting. And so really encouraging people to over communicate in the early innings while we're figuring this out. And over time, that'll normalize and people will find, hey, I maybe don't need to do this thing that I thought I needed to do. But when you're first working from home or working remotely, I think that's critically important.
I think those are some great best practices that everyone can kind of look to borrow to encourage their teams are very communicative during this time. On the flip side, Danielle, I'd love to get your thoughts on how companies can adopt these best practices that Jon just mentioned to engage with their candidates.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. And I I'm really happy that we're talking today about this very, very serious pandemic that we're all experiencing. As Jon mentioned, there's a lot of industries that are going to be really impacted by what's going on, and there will be some that may even thrive during these circumstances. So recruiting, still to be determined the impact, but for now, we believe recruiting will still continue. So it's really important to think through some things you can do to reduce anxiety with your candidates. One of the things that Jon mentioned was over communication. So I think that you can do this in multiple ways, but the first is making sure that you can really communicate transparently with your candidates throughout the process, making sure that they understand that the role is still open, that there is still being considered for it, but just the format of the interviews is changing, is really critical, because as you can imagine, job seekers are probably really concerned, and there's a lot of anxiety right now about what's going to happen. So being incredibly transparent is going to really help your recruiting efforts, and making sure that you set a clear process and explain that it could take longer during this time frame to actually complete the offer. The second thing you can do, which Jon also mentioned, is leveraging video strategically. So, my favorite thing to do is replace a phone screen with a two-way live interview. There are several reasons you want to do that. Number one, I think if you're passionate about the company and you're passionate about the role, that will come off much easier if you're using video. And then the other thing that we may find during these circumstances and work from home mandates is higher levels of distraction. We all have different circumstances when we go home every single day, but trying to reduce those distractions are going to be key, whether you're looking to do your everyday work or you're looking to recruit. So I find it helpful to have a conversation with a candidate or have a conversation with someone over two-way video, because it does reduce the likelihood of looking at your phone, checking email, and doing other things outside of focusing on the person in front of you.
I think those are great points. And you mentioned one about communicating with the candidates. Maybe the format of the interviews are going to be changing. And as the talent board stats inferred, a lot of companies are going to be adding digital interviewing into their hiring process. So Danielle, Entelo is actually going to be offering a free use of our digital interviewing solution until June 30th in order to help companies stay productive during this current climate. Can you explain what solutions this includes?
Yeah, absolutely. So as many of you know, Convey IQ was acquired by Entelo last year. So Entelo now has a full suite of digital interviewing products that we're really pleased to be able to offer up to our clients completely free of charge. I mean, to us, this is the very least that we could do given these circumstances. The products that this will include is the on-demand solution. So that is the product where if you have a lot of candidates applying and you need to be able to screen them more effectively, they can record video-based responses or even text-based responses on their mobile device or on their computer at their convenience. And then the recruiter or the manager can, let's say, pin down a question and hear multiple candidates all answering the same question to ascertain who they want to move forward with in the interview process. So again, these are recorded format and will be providing unlimited access to that system during this time. And these are very helpful for higher volume jobs. Now, for the roles that maybe are lower volume and where you may need to conduct a face-to-face interview, or like I mentioned, a phone screen, we also have a live format as well. This will be able to support up to 400 interviewers on the platform conversing with the candidate. You'll be able to use it to conduct interviews each time you want to engage with a candidate. So both of those solutions will be offered through this time frame. And I guess we'll be reaching out soon to all of you who are a client to let you know that they're available.
Yeah, I'm really excited we're able to offer this to our customers. But Jon, why did you believe this was so important for Entelo to offer this?
Well, Ryan, I think that the goal right now is to help people. And I think as you look around the country and around the world, I mean, there's obviously many, many people that are suffering from this. And that's in some cases from health challenges related to this. In other cases, it's economic challenges related to this. And we're in a very fortunate position that a portion of our platform is very specifically focused on helping people to continue to do business more or less as usual, but to be able to do it in a virtual setting. And so one of the things that we decided to do in kind of the wake of hearing what was happening was to say, you know, where can we give back and what's an appropriate way for us to give back? And so we came up with the idea to do what we're rolling out this week. And I think it goes even beyond what we're doing with giving away a portion of our platform. I think the other thing that we would love to do, and it's part of what we're doing here on this podcast today, is to help to share as much as we can in terms of best practices and education and content that will help people to continue to be able to conduct business, continue to be able to hire people, continue to be able to push things forward in a world that obviously is changing. And we're, again, fortunate to sit in a position where we're talking with heads of global talent on a daily basis. We're hearing their concerns. We're hearing what they're implementing inside their own companies. And so, again, we just feel very fortunate, very blessed to be where we are and felt that we could give back during a time when obviously so many people are in need.
I think that speaks to how excited we are to really help our customers. And to Jon's point, Danielle, as we're communicating, kind of helping customers navigate this new climate, do you think there will be any pushback from candidates for companies who traditionally haven't offered digital interviews as an option?
I think there will be some candidates that are extremely nervous about this. And again, we're in a really trying time for many people. So I do believe it will be just natural for some candidates to demonstrate pushback. But at the same time, I mean, so many of us are self-quarantined right now, particularly in the states that are being the most afflicted by the situation. So, you know, if you are a job seeker and you are looking for a new opportunity, you know, I think most people recognize that this is the safest route, and that, you know, going to a company's headquarters for an interview, while, you know, maybe a better experience for the interview, is probably not the best experience for your health and those around you. So I think overall, while there will be some anxiety, I think candidates will understand why companies are making this decision and recognize it as the most prudent one.
And as we look at technology, here at Entelo, we're very passionate about not simply relying on that technology to connect with our candidates. Danielle, you've discussed many times that the human element is critical whenever utilizing recruitment technology like digital interviewing. I'd love for you to share with our audience how we are helping our customers not only reduce disruption by offering this free trial, but actually helping to increase engagement with their candidates.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I think video gives you an incredible format throughout the interview process. You know, think about using, you know, whether it's our system or any other digital interview platform out there, to replace the phone screen, to have that one-on-one conversation with a candidate. I mean, in these circumstances, I'm sure people are also feeling very lonely. So, you know, jumping on the phone with someone who really cares about them and cares about their success, and doing that over video is a really great way to increase engagement with your candidates. So I think we have an opportunity here. Despite everything that is going on, we have a real opportunity to change the way in which we think about recruitment. And even though hiring decisions may be elongated during this outbreak, I do think that if we start to get more companies interested in using video technology and more adept at using it, the benefits that we'll feel in the long term, that when things return to normal, we'll be able to expedite processes, maybe reduce travel, maybe help people hire the best people faster, given that more and more candidates and recruiters and managers will be accustomed to using technology as part of their long-term talent acquisition strategy. So I think while in the short term, this is perhaps a nuisance for some, I think in the long run, when this does go away and hopefully many people recover, the impact will hopefully improve our industry.
No, I think that's great. So for those customers who are listening to this podcast, I'm sure they have this question. Let's talk about logistics for a minute. How quickly can a company get onboarded and trained?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're doing this for our clients, people who've been with the Entelo organization and Convey IQ organization that aren't digital interviewing users. So we'll be sending out a notice of this trial period on Monday. We'll continuously engage our clients. As Jon had mentioned, we'll be producing some really great content to help you during this time. So stay in touch with us on all of these formats, and there will be many opportunities to sign up, to learn more, to get access. It'll be a really fast process. It'll be less than a 24-hour turnaround for us to get you on the system. So we look forward to hearing from you if you'd like us to help you advance your processes.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. And Jon, I would like to broaden it up a bit. How do you think this will change how companies interact with candidates and their overall recruitment process moving forward, and for how long?
Yeah, I think it's tough to say. And I think there's just so much right now we don't know. I do think what it will do is it will open up people's eyes more to what they can do remotely and via things like video and digital. So I do think that's probably a good thing, because then, you know, when things do go quote unquote back to normal, assuming that happens, that there's not a new normal in front of us, then I do think people will have more options. And I think that's a good part of what's happening right now, is as people think about working from home, as people think about remote interviewing, it's exposing more people to that as a way of getting their jobs done. And then I think it will open up a dialogue on the other side of this to say, you know, should we do some of this, more of this in the future? So I think that's really interesting. I do think that we've always, as a society, benefited from face-to-face contact. And so, you know, I don't think that there's a scenario here where video and digital fully replace that need and that desire. But I do think what people will find is that there are certain efficiencies and there are certain benefits of doing these things that may carry forward regardless of where we go as a society. So I think it's, you know, overall, obviously what's happening in the world is not a good thing, but I do think the fact that people inside their companies are experimenting with new ways of working could ultimately be a very good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up, I think this has been a great conversation, but I did want to open up the floor to each of you, see if there's anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up the podcast interview.
Danielle, ladies first.
Thanks, Jon. Well, I just want to really say that I've been impressed with Jon. I've been impressed with his leadership during this time. You know, I think one of the scariest things is to, you know, be going to work, you know, taking mass transportation and not know what is going to happen the next day, and not know how bad this pandemic will truly be. And so Jon really mobilized the team, you know, really called an emergency meeting with our executives to say, what can we do to really help our employees? And then what can we do to help our clients? And so I feel really privileged to work at a company that puts both its employees and its clients first, ahead of anything else, ahead of commercial reasons, ahead of the business from that perspective, because I really believe Jon, in this case, believes that the business's longevity and sustainability is its people and is doing right by its clients. So I feel very honored to work at Entelo as well as be a part of this podcast today.
Well, of course, I appreciate that, Danielle. And, I do think that during this time, leadership's important, very, very important. And I have no, illusions that what I do or, what any of us at Entelo do is, nearly as courageous as, the people who are on the front lines, the doctors, the nurses, the people who are really, going to put themselves in harm's way every single day in terms of what's going on in the world. But I do think this is an opportunity for all of us to step up and to ask ourselves, can we do more? And, even though that doing more might require us to be in our homes more and kind of out of traditional society more, I think there are great opportunities every single day to help. And we're looking constantly at Entelo for the ways that we can help as a business. But I think many of us right now are also looking for ways that we can help personally and think about our communities, think about people that might be in need, that might be having different things that are more challenging right now. And so that'll be an ongoing battle for all of us in the coming days and weeks. But I think an opportunity as we more fully absorb the events of this week and the last couple of months, and to say, yes, it's important that we stay safe. Yes, it's important that we follow guidelines, wash our hands, do those types of things. But it's also important that we look out for others, and whether those people be the businesses that we serve, whether those people be the people in our community, that's a big opportunity right now. And so, if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, I hope it's that, we're going to try our best on the Entelo side to help others, both as a company and, in our communities. And then we encourage other people, of course, to do the same thing. So thank you, Ryan, for this time today. It's been fantastic to be able to share this with our audience.
Thank you,
Of course.
Ryan.
Thank you both for joining us. I'd just like to echo the sentiment said by both Danielle and Jon. And if you have any questions about how Entelo can help you navigate this, we really want to partner with you and ensure that we are there to help keep you productive, but also keep you safe. Thank you, guys.